Thank you, Barbara, and thank you, Sophia. Again, can we just have a round of applause for the short-term organization of this really important moment? So I am going to brag on Connecticut for a little bit here. First of all, because so many of you are here. So, you know, when Texas passed its insidious SB 8, which I'll get to in a minute, we had some of the largest gatherings here in Salisbury and another one in Kent in the northwest corner than we did in the whole state. So we have some authority here and we're going to keep it up. So there are things to be proud of in Connecticut and particularly in the northwest corner. So Roe, the underpinning of Roe is the right to privacy, which comes from a Supreme Court case called Griswold versus Connecticut. The lead litigator in that case, Catherine Rohrbach from Canaan, Connecticut. So we are front and center. We also, Connecticut had the good sense in 1990 to codify Roe at a time when, and I've spoken to some of the legislators who were there when they did that, and they were derided, like, that's so unnecessary, it's so performative. Why are you guys doing that? You know, we're never gonna need that. Thank heavens we did that. Connecticut is also one of only 16 states in the country that provides support for poor women to get abortions. And that, don't forget that that's really where this gets played out across the country. In the wake of SB 8, Connecticut also acted with great speed. So let's talk about SB 8 for a minute here, because that's the law in Texas that essentially authorizes vigilante justice to go after anyone who supports anyone who needs an abortion. And so for me, just reflecting on a moment on what choice actually means. To have choice, to me, means you need to have access to a support network, which can enable you to make the decision that's right for you. And the really brutally horrible thing about laws like SB 8 is that it not only vastly restricts the access to abortion, which we may lose entirely as a country, but it strips away that support network at the very moment when someone needs it. When someone is turning to you, and it shouldn't really matter what your personal views are, but if a friend, a roommate, a colleague turns to you in that moment, facing an unplanned pregnancy, and has to make a decision, don't you want to help her? Or do you want to turn away and hide? And that's what Texas is asking you to do. So we in Connecticut acted. We passed the Reproductive Defense Act this year. We passed it in the House in the wake of SB 8 and signed it just after the leaked Supreme Court opinion. So what that law does, it first of all expands access to abortion to allow APRNs to perform it as is medically approved and has been the recommended course of action for some time. We conformed our laws to that. And really importantly, we fought back against that judgment from other states so that we will protect anyone in Connecticut who helps any woman seeking abortion services, any person who helps them, a medical provider, an Uber driver, a roommate, a supporter, a family member, doesn't matter. We're going to protect you in Connecticut from judgments in other states. So I went to the signing ceremony for that last week, just after this brutal, leaked Supreme Court opinion, draft opinion, but I fear I don't have high hopes for it being moderated. So let's talk a minute about that. That case not only shatters Roe, but its central holding, as Barbara alluded to a minute ago, essentially says that if it wasn't if it's not literally in the Constitution, if the Constitution does not say the word abortion, which it does not, or contraception, and it wasn't a right that was widely available in the 18th century, a time when there are a lot of fantastic white men in the audience here today, but at that moment in time, it was just property white men who had all of the levers of political, economic power in the country. If it wasn't a right, then it's not a constitutional right. So this really isn't just about Roe. It's about right back to that Griswold versus Connecticut right to privacy. It's about contraception. It's about same-sex marriage. same-sex intimacy, interracial marriage. So I know a lot of you have been, one of the things about this issue, I know it brings a lot of people back out who thought we were done with this, and I'm going to pass the torch on to other people who are going to take action on this. And because we have marched and protested and written and volunteered at a Planned Parenthood, which I have done as a clinic escort, we know how critical this issue is, and we're out there, and we're going to need to be out there again. Because another line in that leaked opinion talked about, well, I'm going to keep our hands clean at the Supreme Court by saying we're just handing this back to the states. And we are the states. Every single one of you, not just me in the state legislature, but all of you who vote, and I hope you vote every opportunity you can. I hope you talk to everyone you know who votes. I hope you get your kids to register to vote, your neighbors, your cousins, everyone, everywhere, because we have to vote in all of these elections. What we are seeing across the country, in particular, this relates to voting rights, because we are seeing legislatures across the country that have been gerrymandered to cement the power of one party that no longer commands majority support. And they are poised to pass, they're anti-democratic legislatures. They're poised to pass anti-democratic legislation that even majority of voters don't support. The majority of people in the United States support access to abortion some or all of the time. We must never forget that. There is a narrative out there that people don't really care. And is this really going to get people to turn out in the election? Well, every single one of you that showed up for this is evidence, and also of the importance of making sure that narrative doesn't take hold, and that each one of us goes out and motivates another 5, 10 people and gets them to show up to make sure that everyone knows what this means for our country and for the women in your lives, but also all of us in this country. So I wore this t-shirt today because it's from the Women's March. I think I saw another one out there today, because this was a galvanizing moment for me. It was kind of the last straw that made me decide to run for the election, right after the election of. So I am hoping that this moment is also a galvanizing moment for all of us, because we can't stay silent. Not just the people who've been out marching, but if you have assumed that we would be protected for the long run, it's clear now we will not. And so I hope all of you who have come today get your marching feet on and get out and do this, not just in Connecticut, but everywhere else you have any sort of influence and the ability to motivate people and make sure everyone knows of the importance of this issue to all of us. So thanks for being here today, and power on.